Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Area 2 police making efforts to prevent traffic gridlock in St. Anne during the holidays. Reactions to DPP suggested change to sentencing guidelines for people convicted of murder. And later in sports, winners women whitewashed by England women in T20 series. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. No more traffic gridlock. That's the assurance from head of the Area 2 Police, Assistant Commissioner of Police Calvin Allen. ACP Allen says motorists should brace for traffic changes in St. Anne to facilitate several major entertainment events. More in this report. St. Anne is a parish known to host several social events, especially around holiday periods, and this year is no different. In fact, the police are now in the process of planning for several entertainment events, which will be taking place over the Christmas holidays into the new year.
If I should pluck out any one or two or three of them out of the many, then I will speak to Sting that was out from 2015, comes back into play and will be at the Plantation Cove along that corridor of Jacksall, Landouvre, Main Road. And you also have Berries and Buju that comes up on the 1st of January and Rebel Salute that comes up on the 20th of January.
Over the last few years, there have been major traffic gridlocks along the main corridor in the parish, which caused delays and frustration. ACP Allen says it won't be like that anymore. He says the plan is to use cones to create 2 additional drivable lanes for motorists and patrons.
For example, persons coming out of Ochorais and coming off the Edward Seaga Highway, intending westbound going to Montego Bay, has nothing to do with the entertainment event. They will have a lane on the extreme left that they will be able to proceed. Persons going into the event, a separate lane has been created for those persons turning. And similarly, that traffic coming out of Montego Bay, heading eastbound, heading to Ochorais or to use the highway, a lane will be created where they'll be able to go their normal business, whilst that traffic coming from the very direction intended for the event will be able to turn.
He says organizations have also been informed to ensure proper lighting at their events. In addition, ACP Allen says police officers will be out in their numbers to provide guidance.
So our officers are out there. They will be out there for the major events. We will have officers deployed from as far back as the roundabout at Miami Bay, straight back to Pear Tree Bottom River, and then within the vicinity of Plantation Cove, you will have a large contingent of officers both on the roadway and within the vicinity of the event on the compound to treat with the security.
And ACP Allen is also warning patrons not to bring weapons to these events.
So the knives, the ice pick, the scissors, even a fork or a spoon, those things will not be allowed. The machete, all of those things, and naturally we're talking about other weapons, will be allowed inside the venue. So we're saying to you now to ensure that you operate within the confines of the law, go and have great fun, but do so bearing in mind the safety that is expected of you. If we meet up on challenges, then we will naturally have to take that course of action.
Meanwhile, ACP Allen is cautioning persons when using the Miami Bay to Landouvre Main Road in the parish. He says 49 collisions have happened along that corridor, which resulted in 56 deaths so far this year.
So we are urging our motorists to take greater precaution in utilizing the corridor. We are seeing where excessive speeding and improper overtaking continues to be 2 of the levels of indiscipline and impatience that impacts negatively on our motorists. And so less collision, but more deaths, because some of those collisions have been so serious that you have had multiple deaths along that corridor.
At least one attorney is this afternoon raising concern about the proposal to change sentencing guidelines for people who plead guilty to murder. Director of Public Prosecution Paula Llewellyn said she would be seeking an audience with Justice Minister Delroy Chuck to make recommendations for changes. Her comment comes on the heels of a reduced sentence for Squashy Hart, who was convicted for the murder of a 14-year-old Jamaica college student. Details in this report.
Director of Public Prosecution Paula Llewellyn says she will be recommending that in certain cases, the starting point for a sentence of life imprisonment for murder be increased from 30 to 40 years before eligibility for parole. But attorney-at-law and president of the Advocates Association of Jamaica, Leonard Green, does not see the need to change the sentencing guidelines. He says the recommendation would not be an effective deterrent to potential offenders. Mr. Green says what should matter is the certainty of the punishment and not the severity.
The person who goes on the road and commits a crime, shoots somebody in a plaza, does not, in my respectful view, think necessarily of the sentence he is likely to get. He's more concentrating on the likelihood of getting away with it. I will not be caught, particularly among young offenders. I don't think they really think about being caught.
He says while he understands that families of murder victims would want longer sentences for convicts, this does not justify the change being recommended by the DPP.
It is horrible. It is horrible. And those of us who work in the system every day, it doesn't make us numb to these realities, but I still maintain that we need to think carefully about it and at the end of the day, share with the public what we regard as something that is rational. Somebody who spent 30 years in prison, when they come out, let's say that person is 20, they come out at 50. Let's say they come out, they are 30, they come out at 60. It's almost your entire life of incarceration. And those are the things we have to think of. Should they never be released from prison? Well, that's another matter that we could probably look at. But let the judges decide on the circumstances, because what we're talking about is not the maximum, we're talking about the minimum. And that is the point.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
6 persons are now homeless just days before Christmas after fire destroyed sections of their 8-bedroom house in St. Thomas this morning. According to reports, sometime after 5, fire was seen coming from a building located in the Trinityville community. One resident explained how they managed to escape and save some items.
The rest of the place them was grilled with the lock and stuff, so one engine we could have, we can let them out. So while we are letting them out, we have to try to dash some water to shave some of the ear of them. So that's the best I could do until the fire truck come. We have look our neighbor come and friends help we throw look water and them way there and who forgot river coming in the water and them stuff there. That's how comes everywhere in a burn down.
One unit from the Morant Bay Fire Station responded and put out the blaze. Losses are estimated at $4.5 million. The cause of the fire is unknown.
Really has sad feelings, man, to know your house burned down now and material raising, everything like that. We can't get money. We have to look at it that way. And your house burned down now. For build a house now, it takes so much.
Members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force in St. Mary say they are taking a more direct approach to crime by seizing all offensive weapons from members of the public.
When we do the attribution of the crimes in St. Mary, we realize that offensive weapons are really responsible for several of our crimes, to include murder. Against that background, the team right here at Highgate Police Station, we met and discussed that we will be taking a zero-tolerance approach as it relates to offensive weapons.
Sub-Officer Sergeant Christopher Ward is in charge of the Highgate Police Division. He says once these weapons are found on anyone without a legal reason, it will be taken away.
On the road with these weapons and they do not have lawful reasons. It cannot be that a man just walk on the street with a machete in his hand. It's not robbed or anything. Or every youngster, 15, 16 years old, all of them have a scissors in their waist, yes, or having the knives. It's not a part of their work kit or anything. So we are saying that, listen, to minimize or further, mitigate any further crime committed by offensive weapons, we are taking this approach.
Mr. Ward says several persons are already in court for charges related to the possession of these offensive weapons. He also said not using these weapons reduces the number of crimes committed in Jamaica on a daily basis. There's a shortage for animal feed on the market for pigs and chicken. As a result, some animal farmers will go into the Christmas holiday without the requisite amount of feed.
More than 1.5 billion Jamaican dollars worth of transactions have been conducted via the local digital wallet platform Link. The app, backed by commercial bank NCB, shared that 180,000 people have registered to use the platform. The platform, which was launched in December 2021, is looking to introduce more features in the next year. Link is planning to introduce debit cards, enabling users to pay in store, shop online, and internationally. It also plans to offer remittance services starting January to allow people to send and receive money from overseas. Link received its remittance license in November. In business overseas, Facebook parent company Meta has agreed to pay $725 million to settle legal action over a data breach linked to political consultancy Cambridge Analytica. The long-running dispute accused the social media giant of allowing third parties, including the British firm, to access Facebook users' personal data. Meta, which did not admit wrongdoing, said it had revamped its approach to privacy over the past 3 years. And coming up in the business review this Sunday, we hear how the masked-up period during the pandemic boosted profits for a small eyebrow cafe. That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
Now for a look at the top regional and international stories.
In the region, in Barbados, the few remaining COVID-19 protocols, which included mandatory mask wearing in schools and on public transportation, have been discontinued. A statement from the Barbados Ministry of Health and Wellness announced that the current emergency management order and its attendant directives have come to an end. Barbados Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George explained that after consultation with the Emergency Operations Center, it was agreed that there was no longer a requirement for legislation to guide protocols for prevention and control of COVID-19 in Barbados. On the international scene, in the United States, the shock wave from the winter bomb cyclone has millions of people under alerts, thousands without power, and more than a dozen states in emergency response mode. More than 200 million people are under wind chill alerts from the Canadian border to the Mexican border and from Washington state to Florida. The storm has sent temperatures plunging to record lows, snarling travel with cancelled flights and hundreds of road closures. Heavy snow and ice are also creating grim road conditions with poor visibility, leaving some drivers stranded in unbearably cold weather. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report.